Om Gananam Tva Ganapatikum Havamahe Kavim Kavinam Upamashravastamam Jyeshthārajam Brahmanam Brahmanaspatana Shrunvannutibhisseeda Sadhanam Shri Mahaganadhipataye Namaha Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Guru Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Dear friends, we have completed the 13th mantra. The 12th, 13th and 14th mantras, they form a set. That is what I was saying. The earlier 3 mantras regarding Vidya and Avidya, the 3 mantras, they formed a set. This 12, 13 and 14, they form one particular set. So in this thing, there is a discussion on Sambhuti and Asambhuti. Sambhuti is what is called Vyakruta, that is the manifest form of Brahman. Asambhuti is the unmanifest part of Brahman. So unmanifest is something which is prior to this manifest. So manifest is something like a Karya, and unmanifest is something which is the Karana. That is, Karya is effect and Karana is the cause. So the first 2 mantras, that is 11th and 12th, they talked about say what is the result of say what is the phalam, what is the fruit which we get by doing this Sambhuti Upasana, what is the fruit we get by doing this Asambhuti Upasana. So that is what we saw. In Upanishads broadly, we have seen say the human activity in 3 levels. That is, one is a karma. It can be a kamya karma or a nishkama karma. So that is done in the realm of duality, where you worship a god. Nishkama karma also, it is at the level of duality only, where there is a god and then you are different from God, and that is the type of, that is the mode of worship. Then the another mode is this Upasana mode, where you are dwelling on the nature of Brahman, not Brahman, the nature of that God form which you have in mind, which you visualize. And then you visualize a great thing, you visualize a great and noble object in a very small, say some symbol or some small token of a thing. A small Saligrama where you visualize Vishnu, a small Shiva Linga where you visualize this form of Shiva, not only the form of Shiva, Shiva Tattva, the whole philosophy which is associated with Shiva. So all those things you visualize and you contemplate on that. And then this again, I told you, this is a 2 forms. Upasana is of 2 types. One is with a sense of duality, and the other is that invoking that God or Goddess into yourself. That I told about this Nyasa, Anganyasa and Karanyasa, where the different exercises are there. Angushtabhyam Namaha, Tarjanibhyam Namaha, Madhyamabhyam Namaha, and then with all those mantras you invoke Shiva or any God. In fact, Shiva suddenly came to my mind because in Mahanyasa, for example, Mahanyasa, you know, in Mahanyasa, what is it? The entire Rudra, this what is this Rudradhyaya, that hymn in praise of Rudra, the God is invoked into every part of the body by uttering different, by chanting different mantras from top to toe. In all parts of the body, Rudra is invoked. That is, Na Rudro Rudra Marchayet. So a person who is not a Rudra, he is not competent to say worship Rudra. So you are in that form. So Upasana is a stage where this is called Aham Grahopasana, where I am that God form. So in the last class I was telling you that it is a way to elevate yourself from a lower level to a much higher level, where you are not bothered about all these mundane things, and then you identify with that God form. So that is that Aham Grahopasana. So this small slight difference between Bhakti and Upasana. Bhakti is done at the level of duality, where I am always a supplicant. I am always a servant before God, and then I ask for something and then I feel gratified if God gives me something. So this is a sort of give and take sort of thing, where I am always a beggar and then He is always the giver and I always go to Him. Where in this Upasana, he is not bothered about these petty things. He is bothered about becoming that God himself. Becoming that God himself. Like we do, we go to, for example, Shankara Matham. What do we see in Shankara Matham? We see our priests worshipping Shankaracharya. Shankaracharya never expected that he should be worshipped. Had he known, he would have given a specific order that he should not be worshipped. But unfortunately, we put an idol of Shankaracharya. We never read Shankaracharya's Bhashyam. We go and then we worship Shankaracharya. The best way to worship Shankaracharya is to read his Bhashya. Not going and breaking a coconut, because prayer is something which is the easiest thing for the human mind. Human mind is highly comfortable in a prayer because you have nothing to do. You have to just go physically be present. The body can be present, the mind can be elsewhere, and then you just the priest chants some mantras, and then you, maybe if you are a rich man, you will give some dakshina, and then that is the end of it, and it does not bring any type of internal transformation in you. So internal transformation is what is expected in any ritual. In fact, Nishkama Karma is done only for internal transformation. Nishkama Karma, the result is, the ultimate result is Chitta Shuddhi, which is this internal transformation. And Upasana again gives you some internal transformation. So in one type of Upasana, where you get the Devatatma Bhavam, that is what we saw in that Devatma Bhavam, and then Devatatma Bhavam Ashnute Prapnoti. So that is what we saw. And then that is regarding that Vidya type of thing. Then when we are in this Asambhuti. With reference to this Asambhuti, we were talking about this Prakruti Laya. So this Upasana of the unmanifest, it leads you to the Prakruti Laya. So this Upasana is something where in a smaller thing, a very huge, very big concept is visualized. In fact, the human body itself is said to be a temple. There is a very famous shloka, Deho Devalaya Proktaha. You must have heard, it's a very, very popular thing. Jivo Devas Sanatanaha Tyajet Ajnana Nirmalyam Soham Bhavena Pujayet. So what does it mean? Dehaha Devalaya Proktaha. Deho Devalaya Proktaha means Devalaya. What is Devalaya? Devalaya, normal meaning is temple. Deva plus Alaya. Deva, the word Deva comes from the root Divu. Divu Dyotane. Dyotana means Prakasha, shining. So that is luminous, that it represents intelligence. So that means Devalaya is the center of intelligence, the center of consciousness, the center of Chit, Chaitanyam, that intelligence that is manifest in this body. So that is how it is a Devalaya. And then what is that Deva? Who is that God which is inside that? The Deva or God who is inside that is that Jiva. Jivo, what is that? Jivo Devas Sanatanaha. Sanatana. Sanatana, what is the meaning of Sanatana? I think I explained once or twice. Sanatana does not mean ancient or pretty old in time. Sanatana means eternal. Sanatana Sadatana. That is the meaning from Amarakosha dictionary. Sanatana means eternal. Nitya. That Nitya Shuddha Chaitanyam, whatever that Chaitanyam or consciousness is there, that is Jiva. That is the thing which is indwelling in us. And that is how this body itself becomes a temple. And the next line says, what is that? Tyajed Ajnana Nirmalyam. Nirmalyam means whatever you have to remove. Suppose you do puja today. You offer some flowers and then you put some garland, you put something else. And then by tomorrow, all those things would have become dried. So you have to remove all those dried things and then put some fresh flowers. So all those things which you take away, which you discard, it is called Nirmalyam. So in the case of a body, what is the Nirmalyam we have to discard? Ajnana Nirmalyam, this ignorance, the ignorance about the nature of one's own self, that is the Ajnanam. That is the Nirmalyam. That is the Nirmalyam which you have to remove or discard. And Soham Bhavena Pujayet. So this puja is in the form like Soham. Saha Aham becomes Soham. I am that, I am that, I am that Supreme Self, I am that Shuddha Chaitanya. So that is the type of bhavana which one has to have. So that is regarding that Nirgunopasana. In fact, there is a Upanishad itself called Bhavanopanishad. If you see, that Bhavanopanishad is about Sri Chakra. Sri Chakra Archana, those people who do this Sri Chakra. Sri Chakra itself, it is a sort of a diagrammatic representation of certain philosophical concepts. Sri Chakra is nothing but, it is a pictorial representation of certain philosophical concepts. So the same philosophical concepts are invoked into the body in that Bhavana Upanishad, into all parts of the body. That Sri Chakra is invoked. The concepts which are mentioned in that Sri Chakra, the body itself becomes the Sri Chakra. There in Sri Chakra it is a paper where some picture is there. But in this Upasana, the Sri Chakra itself, the body itself becomes the Sri Chakra. So that is a type of Upasana. So like that, Upasana is something which is supposed to elevate a man from a lower level to a higher level. So this is what we have seen. And I was also explaining the word Prakruti Laya. Laya Chintanam is a process which is told in philosophy. Laya Chintanam, in fact, what philosophy texts, Vedanta texts say is that for the first level of Adhikari, that Uttamadhikari, for the top class student who is in that distinction level, so for him, pure Vedanta, the metaphysical level and ontological level, it is told what is a Pramana and what is a truth, and then say Pramana Prameya Vichara, then what is that Drishyam and what is Druk. So at that level it is told, and then that fellow is, because he is an intelligent man, he is capable of straight away going to that level, Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana and whatnot. A person who is not able to go to that level, slightly Madhyamadhikari, who is still having some longing, lingering, say attachment for, say the world, and then who is not, say happy with all that that concepts in philosophy, this Laya Chintanam is told. Laya Chintanam I was telling in the last class. Laya is what? Laya is, we should say, realizing that the effect is not different from the cause. The first principle in Laya is the effect or karyam is not different from the cause. So you try to resolve this effect into the cause. Resolve effect into the cause. So we know that these senses are products of these Panchabhutas. So the first thing we have to do is, my eye is nothing but what we see, this light. In Adhyatma, whatever I call the sense of sight, in Adhibhuta, it is nothing but the sun, it is nothing but the light which we see in the external world. And then the sense of smell which I have, which I feel I have, this is nothing but the product of earth. This is nothing but another form of earth. So like that, the five senses which are resolved into the five elements. These five elements again, they are products of this Maya. So like that you go back and then back to, you have to go back to that Maya. And behind that Maya is Brahman, and behind Brahman there is nothing else. So Brahman is the substratum for everything. So this type of Laya Chintanam, the same thing which I was telling in Gita class yesterday, where this five sheaths, the five sheaths of human body, the five sheaths are, one you have to discard one after the other and go from gross to subtle and gross to subtle, and like that you have to go to the the ultimate Atman level. In fact, you go to the temple also. I don't know much about this temple architecture, but what people say is that in every system of philosophy there is what is called the sheaths. With this Panchakosha we talk in Vedanta. So you go to a temple, there are some five prakaras. These five prakaras represent these five sheaths. Then again in some other system there may be seven levels. So we call Yedu Kondalavadu the seven prakaras. If you go to Srirangam temple in Tamil Nadu, there are some seven prakaras, seven compound walls, and within that the innermost thing is that sanctum sanctorium. So like that, the philosophical concepts are put on paper in the form of a yantra. The philosophical concepts are invoked into the body in the form of upasana. The same philosophical concepts are seen in a temple where you go, this whether it is a concept of Dhvajastambha, whether it is the concept of Garbhagruha and all these things. So like that, these are all the things which are integrated, and in fact if we want to really know, we have to read a lot about those things. Unfortunately, I have not read anything about temple architecture, but it is some subject which is worth studying, and then somebody has to study. So anyway, so this upasana is, we were just talking about that upasana. Then this is all by way of introduction. We have to start this 14th mantra, and in this 14th mantra advocates this, what is this? A combination, a joint performance, or synthesizing these two. What is this? This Vyakrta upasana and Avyakrta, these two you have to combine, these two you have to synthesize. That is what this is saying. Let us read this. Yata eva mataha samuchchayaha सम्भूत्यसम्भूत्युपासनयोः युक्त एव एकपुरुषार्थत्वाच्च इत्याह यत एवं अतः यत एवं अतः means because it is so yatah evam because it is like this atah therefore because it is so that is in the previous two mantras I explained just now I explained each one is going to give you a lower result so a synthesis or a combined look at both of them you have to see the both vyakruta and also avyakruta if you stop with vyakruta you are only left with all these physical say benefits like anima the aishwarya siddhi that is what at only at a physical level you are stopping then avyakruta upasana itself is incomplete so that is why you please combine so that you can have a more integrated and more complete say way of life so that is what it says yata eva matah samuchchayah that is combination sambhutyasambhutyupasanayoh upasanayoh means of these two upasanas yukta eva means it is appropriate ekapurusharthatvacha we have seen this they both of them they attain a greater purushartha they are not contradicting each other they attain a greater purushartha that is what it says let us read the mantra sambhutim cha vinasham cha yastadvedo bhayagam saha vinashena mrutyum tirtva sambhutyamrutamashnuते it is not exactly sambhutya it is asambhutya there is a what is this this akara praslesha there so that is we have to read vinashena mrutyum tirtva sambhutyamrutamashnuté we have to read vinashena mrutyum tirtva sambhutyamrutamashnuté correct okay then sambhutim cha vinasham cha we have seen what this sambhuti is that something which is manifest sorry the first before going to that before explaining the shloka I have to read the last line of this bhashyam this last line of this bhashyam says this first word sambhuti should be read as asambhuti because otherwise it will contradict with the earlier two verses it will contradict with the earlier two mantras because asambhuti and vinasha that is how we have to read asambhutim cha vinasha this last line of the bhashyam if you see this last line sambhutim cha vinasham cha ityatra are you able to locate it the last line under this mantra sambhut ityatra avarna lopena nirdeshah drashtavyah that one word one letter a is missing otherwise there will be a contradiction in meaning so that is what Shankaracharya said maybe the earlier mantra iti shushrumadhiranam yenastadvichachakshire sambhutim cha vinasham cha so like that the old rishis must have studied we do not know so that vichachakshire immediately after vichachakshire there must have been one avagraha we do not know so that is why Shankaracharya is clarifying if you don't put a there then it will be clashing with the meaning of the earlier mantras so that is why we have to see asambhutim cha vinasham cha so asambhutim cha vinasham cha what is this asambhuti we have seen this is avyakruta this is unmanifest then vinasham what is that vinasham by the word vinasha he is referring to that hiranyagarbha upasana vyakruta I said what is that vyakruta the manifest that is called sambhuti vyakruta is equal to manifest is equal to sambhuti is equal to vinasha that vinasha also vinasha means perishing nature why is it perishing nature this manifest whatever it is this hiranyagarbha he may be a cosmic being he is of the nature of if you imagine the subtle body in a human self he is the cosmic subtle body in spite of all that he is a product only he is a karyam of that unmanifest and whatever is a karya is going to perish at some point of the time in fact this hiranyagarbha or whatever it is in according to Vedanta they all have some sort of they perish at some point of time. So we think of, say, Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara and all these things. And all these things, what are they? They are at the level of that Maya only. In that Maya only, whatever function is there for creation, that function you are calling it Brahma. It is not as though three people are sitting there with their different wives, with their respective wives, and then each man is having some smart sphere of operation. It's not like that. Whatever is that function called creation, that function you are calling Brahma. This function called sustenance, you are calling it Vishnu. So that is why Vishnu is accompanied by Lakshmi, because if you want to sustain, if you want to give something, you should have some budget behind you, and then you should have all the budgetary provision is given by Lakshmi. So like that, Vishnu is the man who is also the enforcer of law and order. So that is why he takes up avatars. It is not Brahma who is taking up avatar. Brahma simply creates. It is only a function. Again, we have to remember that Brahma is not a person. So it is a function. This function called sustenance is associated with Lakshmi, because Lakshmi is some money is required for some sustenance, and then some all types of wealth. Wealth is not money only. Godhana, all types of Ashtalakshmi. You visualize Lakshmi in 8 forms. Dhana Lakshmi, Dhanya Lakshmi, Santana Lakshmi, various types of forms we visualize. So all these things are Lakshmi, prosperity, all types of prosperity. Then again Shiva, what you call Rudra. Rudra again is a particular function in that cosmic scheme. So these 3 functions in that cosmic scheme are called Brahma, Vishnu and Rudra. So these people also, they have that something like a tenure, because this universe is manifesting at some point of time. Then there is a laya for this whole universe also. And when this whole universe becomes, it disappears or gets resolved in Maya, the Hiranyagarbha is no longer there. So Hiranyagarbha, that way, he is also called Vinasha. He is also of that perishing nature. We may live for 100 years. This Hiranyagarbha thing may exist for billions and billions of years. But ultimately, that again is something of a perishing nature. So that is what the Vedanta says. So Hiranyagarbha is called Vinasha here. And what all he gives also, it is Vinasha. Suppose your boss gives you something today. Your boss himself has a limited tenure. And after the boss goes away, and that thing also, that utility is over. So it is like that. So if you remember Nachiketa, okay, we need not go into that. So like that, Vinasha is something which is called, Vinasha is equal to Hiranyagarbha, is equal to Vyakruta, it is equal to Sambhuti, all these things. Then Asambhuti is the same as, Asambhuti is equal to Avyakruta, is equal to Maya. So that is how we have to see. Asambhutim cha Vinasham cha yaha tad veda ubhayagam saha. The one who practices both together. Yes, yaha tad veda. Veda means knows. Knows means practices. Here, the joint upasana, that is called Veda. Not only physical knowing, not merely knowing, but practicing. Ubhayagam saha. Both things together. Saha means together. Saha acharana. These 2 things he is doing. He is doing both. Then what happens to them? What happens to him? Vinashena mrutyum tirtva. Vinashena. We know what is Vinasha now. Vinasha is whatever wealth, whatever physical, whatever all this material wealth and whatever powers, Anima, the Siddhi. We also saw this Anima, Mahima, various types of Siddhis we saw. So all those things which Hiranyagarbha is capable of giving, so they are again of perishing nature only. But then Vinashena mrutyum tirtva, one type of mortality, that is, he says, Anaishwaryam, that is what he says, Mrutyu in this shloka, in this mantra, Shankaracharya is commenting it as Anaishwaryam. That is, what can we say, misery, some pettiness, that is called Anaishwaryam. Ishwarasya bhavam is Aishwaryam. One who is lording over everything is Aishwaryam. Anaishwaryam means you are always a servant, you are always a petty being, that is Anaishwaryam. So when you are having so much of physical wealth and all these powers and all that, you are powerful in this world, let us say. So that powerlessness is mrityu, like our politicians. you can see how miserable they are when they are out of power. So that is mrityu. So okay, suddenly we got a very good example. So this vinashena mrityum tirtva. So this vyakruta upasana we have to tell these people. So when they are out of power, so they feel so miserable. So their plight you can't imagine. Vinashena mrityum tirtva asambhutya amrutam ashnute. Asambhutya means by this avyakruta upasana. Avyakruta upasana is, what is it giving to you? It is giving you this prakriti laya. Prakriti laya is a slightly superior type of result. So prakriti laya is a superior type of result when compared to whatever this Hiranyagarbha is capable of giving. So if we just closely see this say mantra, okay, let us see the bhashyam and go to this analysis. Let us see the bhashyam. You understood the mantra broadly? Okay. Let us read the bhashyam. Asambhutim cha vinasham cha yaha tad veda ubhayagam saha vinasho dharmo yasya karyasya sa tena dharmina abhedena uchyate vinasha iti. Okay, he is explaining why Hiranyagarbha is called Vinasha. Hiranyagarbha, we know that he is a cosmic being, and this mantra says it is Vinasha. Why? How can you say that? Then Shankaracharya is explaining that is Vinasham, getting perished, is his dharma, that is his nature. So you are equating dharma and dharmi. Dharma, suppose I have say a property, not a physical property. Dharma means say kindness. Suppose I say I have got some dharma, some nature property. You may understand in a different way. My nature is kindness, let us say. Then say by kindness, by using the word kindness, you may refer to me. So like that, dharma and dharmi. Dharma, vinasha is a dharma. Vinasham is the nature. Vinasham, that is perishing, is the nature of this Hiranyagarbha. So instead of using the word Hiranyagarbha, he is using that say dharma itself to refer to that Hiranyagarbha. So that nature is called kindness, that nature is called dharma. This person is dharmi, one who is having that dharma is called dharmi. So dharma, dharmi, they are synonymously used here. So that is how Shankaracharya is explaining it. So dharma and dharmi, one who has that dharma or nature, he is called dharmi, that quality, let us say. One who has that quality, he is the dharmi. Okay, sambhutim cha vinasham cha yas tadveda ubhayagam saha, I explained. Dharma, vinashaha dharma yasya karyasya. So this, he is again, Shankaracharya is pointing out that this Hiranyagarbha is after all a karya. He is after all a derivative of that maya. He is actually a manifestation from that maya. So that is why he is a vinasha. Vinashaha dharma yasya karyasya satena dharmina abhedena uchyate. So that dharma is abhedena, without making any distinction. Abheda is differentiating. Abhedena uchyate means without making any distinction, it is told. This word is used for that word. So that is what he says. Without making a distinction, instead of using the word Hiranyagarbha, he is using the word Vinasha. So that is what it means. Then abhedena uchyate vinasha iti. So that is why that is Vinasha, because that is why all these gods, Brahma, Rudra, Shiva and all these gods, they are called Adhikara Purushas. Adhikara Purusha, you know what is that? Adhikara Purusha. It is something like a tenure post. So they exist so long as this Srishti exists. And once there is a pralaya, these people also they get in. So that means all these functions will be there. Not that these people they will suddenly die or anything like that. These functions will be there so long as this Srishti is there. The functions will cease to be there when the Srishti itself is not there. So that is what it means. So Brahma, Vishnu, Rudra, in a way of speaking, they are called Adhikara Purushas. In a figurative way, they are called Adhikara Purushas. So that is how we have to understand it. Tena tad upasanena anaishwaryam adharma kamadi doshajatam cha मृत्युं तीर्त्वा हिरण्यगर्भोपासनेन आप्तिः अणिमादिप्राप्तिः फलं तेन अनैश्वर्यादिमृत्युम् अतीत्य. Okay, we will stop here. We have stopped in the middle of the sentence. Okay. Tena, by tadupasanena, vinashena mrityum tirtva, by that, tena means by that. What is that by that? Tadupasanena, by doing this upasana of this Hiranyagarbha, Anaishwaryam means that is misery, I said. That is pettiness, lack of power, being out of power, being sitting in the opposition party. So that is Anaishwaryam. Adharma kamadi dosha jatam. You do a lot of adharma and then you go out of power. So something like that. This Anaishwaryam, okay, let us stop talking about politicians. This adharma, Anaishwaryam, this pettiness is because of adharma. When a person, he indulges in adharma, kama adi dosha jatam. This Anaishwarya is a result of this adharma and kama, desire and more desire. So that is why repeatedly the Upanishad says this kamya karma is something which has to be stopped at some point of time. You have to stop at some point of time because it is only going to lead you to some negative, say ultimate result. The final result will be negative. So that is why they say it is the nishkama karma is say advocated, suggested. So adharma kamadi dosha jatam. So this anaishwaryam or pettiness or this sort of misery is as a result of this various doshas, various faults, various mistakes like this adharma, then kama, the desire, all these things. So by doing Hiranyagarbha's upasana, you are overcoming all that. This anaishwaryam itself is mrityu. This type of mrityu you are overcoming in a figurative way. This mrityu in a figurative way. Mrityum tirtva. Then again in a small parenthesis he is explaining what is Hiranyagarbhopasana phalam. He is explaining the phalam of Hiranyagarbha upasana. Hiranyagarbhopasanena, that is by this upasana of this Hiranyagarbha, that is what is aptihi. Aptihi, yasma, he means yasmat, because apti means what we attain. Apti is what we attain. The result is what? Animadi praptihi. Anima, Mahima, etc. The siddhis, various physical powers which a person gets, a upasaka gets. Of course, I have not seen this Animadi siddhis, though I have seen some small powers with some people. But then Animadi siddhi I have not seen. There may be people we do not know, or people might have had in olden days we do not know. But then there are some people who are still showing some powers. We cannot say they are totally, say they have to be brushed aside. Animadi praptihi phalam. Tena anaishwaryadi mrityum atitya. Anaishwaryadi mrityum. So this mrityu, which is of the nature of this anaishwaryam, this pettiness, this supplicancy, this misery, this is something called a mrityu. This is figuratively it can be called mrityu. So you overcome that mrityu by doing this Hiranyagarbhopasana. So Hiranyagarbhopasana, to some extent it is okay, it is permitted. So that is what he says. Mrityum atitya asambhutya avyakrutopasanaya amrutam prakruti laya lakshanam ashnute. So he is saying this prakruti laya is slightly superior to this, what is this? Sambhuti. So asambhutya, by doing that avyakruta upasana, by doing that upasana of this, say unmanifest, that is Maya. Then Maya means this Laya Chintanam, what we were discussing, this Laya Chintanam, how you have to resolve your entire self into back and back, something like in psychology what they call, I don't know, so recently somebody was telling about, what is that? You have to go and regress, go back and back and back, and you will get some knowledge of your previous birth or something like that. There is something told in psychology nowadays. Anyway, it is something like that. Asambhutya avyakruta upasanaya. This Laya Chintanam is that way. Something similar to that. Laya Chintanam is you realize that your I is nothing but this I and Adhyatma is nothing but the light which is in Adhibhautika. So like that, all these five senses are resolved into five elements resolved into this Prakriti, the Prakriti again, it is that is that ultimate stage where all these say by the time the body falls off, the ultimate result is when the body falls off, the five senses, this linga sharira will not transmigrate anywhere. Prakriti laya means this linga sharira is not going to transmigrate into some other human body. It is just dissolved or resolved in that maya. So that is it. This is a higher position than this Hiranyagarbha Upasana. So that is it. So I have just, after we see these three mantras, we can note these following points. I just made a small tabular column. This Avyakruta Upasana versus Hiranyagarbha Upasana. The first thing is the phalam. The phalam is Avyakruta Upasana phalam is a higher phalam, that is say Prakriti Laya. Then Hiranyagarbha Upasana, there is a slightly lower phalam which is called Animadi Aishwarya Siddhi. In fact, I should have brought a small slide, but somehow I forgot to bring a slide. Then Avyakruta. No, I am just telling. Avyakruta means this Maya or Prakriti, and Hiranyagarbha is a derivative, that is Karyam, which is the cosmic subtle body. Then in the case of this Avyakruta Upasana, this dissolution is complete. Dissolution is complete means once the body falls off, there is no question of any body transmigrating elsewhere, and then there is no question of rebirth or anything. But then in the case of Hiranyagarbha, this person goes and merges with Hiranyagarbha, no doubt, but then he has to wait till this Hiranyagarbha again gets dissolved and then only gets moksha. Hiranyagarbha ultimately, this is the Hiranyagarbha is basically a function. This subtle body, it remains there, and then only at the end of this pralaya, only at the time of pralaya, he merges with the Maya. So that is what he has to wait for some time. Then Prakriti Laya is a chintana. Prakriti Laya is a process of thinking. It is a process of it is an intellectual process, let us say. It is a process where you think, you contemplate. Whereas Upasana is only a type of adhyasa. Adhyasa is putting something over something. That is visualizing that a Saligrama is Vishnu, visualizing that a Shivalinga is Shivalinga is nothing but Shiva. So this is adhyasa. That is superimposing something on something else. That is what is adhyasa, we know. Superimposing some qualities of a bigger thing on a smaller thing is called adhyasa. So this is a mere adhyasa, whereas Avyakruta, that is Prakriti Laya Chintanam, is a slightly philosophical process, a process of proper understanding. That is moving from gross to subtle and gross to subtle. It is a philosophical process. So like this we can make some distinction between this Prakriti Laya and this Hiranyagarbha Chintana. So let us see this thing, next line. Sambhutim cha vinasham cha ityatra avarnalopena nirdeshaha drashtavyah prakriti laya phalasrutyanurodhat. Very good. So Sambhutim cha vinasham cha ityatra. So in this particular mantra, in the first line where it is mentioned Sambhutim cha vinasham cha, then avarnalopena nirdeshaha drashtavyah. We have to realize, we have to note, nirdeshaha drashtavyah means we have to note that this avarna lopa is there. Otherwise there will be a contradiction with the meaning of the earlier mantras. Prakriti laya phalasrutyanurodhat. Prakriti laya phalashruti. So in the earlier mantra, this phalashruti, what is the phalashruti? The result has been mentioned. What? Prakriti Laya is mentioned as the phalam, as the result of that Avyakruta Upasana. So otherwise, if you don't put this A here, it will contradict with the earlier mantra. So that is the meaning here. So next, he is going to the next mantra, the avatarika for the next mantra. Manusha Daiva Vitta Sadhyam Phalam Shastra Lakshanam Prakriti Layantam Etavati samsara gatihi atah param purvoktam atmaiva bhud vijanatah iti sarvatma bhavayeva sarvaishana sannyasa jnana nishta phalam. Okay. Manusha Daivavitta Sadhyam Phalam Shastra Lakshanam Prakriti Layantam. So the ultimate which say a human person, which a person gets, all this human endeavor in the shape of karma, in the shape of upasana, it ends with that. What is that? Prakriti Layantam. That is the highest thing. This Avyakruta Upasana, whatever human endeavor, by human endeavor, whatever the highest you can get is that Prakriti Laya. But not moksha. Moksha is again only by the process of this Ravana Manana Nididhyasana, only by the process of this Jnana Nishtha. Only this Jnana Nishtha is one which is leading you to say moksha, but not all these things. All these things are at a lower level only. Manusha Daiva Vitta Sadhyam. Manusha Vittam is what? Manusha Vittam is all this thing which Hiranyagarbha Upasana gives, that is all this wealth and prosperity, all this power and glory, all these things are Manusha Vittam. Daiva Vittam is Devata Jnanam. Devata Jnanam is that Upasana, that visualizing, contemplating on the nature of God, that is on the concept of God, that is one way, and then invoking that God form into oneself, that is a second way. So in both, there is a process of elevation from a lower degree to a higher degree. Both are enriching, or rather self-edifying, let us say. There is some sort of self-edification in both these things. Instead of considering himself as a very, very petty human being, he considers himself as at a higher level and behaves like that. That is ultimately that is what is required. So, Manusha Daiva Vita Sadhyam Phalam Shastra Lakshanam. Shastra Lakshanam means that which has been told by the Shastra. Shastra Lakshanam, that which is told by the Shastra. Prakriti Layantam. So, that is the final, that is the peak, the pinnacle of all human achievement is Prakriti Laya. That is what he says. Then, Etavati Samsara Gatihi. So, Samsara Gatihi, this what all this Samsara leads, the ultimate destination of this Samsara Gati is that Etavati, only this much. Etavati means only this much. Only this much is the destination. This far, let us say, only this far is the destination of this whole Samsara. Then, Atah Param means thereafter. Thereafter, what is the thing? Purvoktam means what has been told earlier. So, he is referring to this Atmaiva Bhut Vijanataha, that is mantra 7. Tatra Komoha Kashyokaha Ekatvam Anupashyataha. We saw in that seventh mantra. So, one who sees Atmaikatvam, one who sees this whole universe as the manifestation of Brahman and nothing else but Brahman, then for him, where is the question of sadness, where is the question of misery? So, even in Hiranyagarbha, there is some amount of tension and misery, because this subtle body is still waiting there to attain some moksha. So, there again there is that tension and then all this misery regarding waiting. So, all this fatigue is there in Hiranyagarbha Loka. But then this is Purvoktam Atmaiva Bhut Vijanataha. For one who knows that this entire thing is nothing but Chaitanya, there is nothing but, for him, Atmaiva Bhut Vijanataha, Komoha Kashyokaha. That is what that mantra says. There is no question of delusion, there is no question of sorrow or misery. Then, Atmaiva Bhut Vijanataha iti Sarvatma Bhavayeva. So, for him, that Sarvatma Bhava is there. Then Sarvaishana Sannyasa Jnana Nishtha Phalam. So Jnana Nishtha Phalam. The Phalam, that is Sarvaishana Sannyasam. Sarvaishana Sannyasam again is there associated with this Jnana Nishtha. Sarvaishana Sannyasa is not different from Jnana Nishtha. Jnana Nishtha, when we say, it is not a pure intellectual exercise. So he has to undergo a lot of personal transformation. Mere knowledge at a theoretical level without this personal transformation, it cannot be called, say the real Jnana Nishtha. So, Sarva Eshana Sannyasam. Eshana Sannyasam, we know what is the three Eshanas. Vitteshana, Putreshana, Lokeshana, these three types of desires. I have explained to you. Yeah. So, these three Eshanas and Eshana Traya Sannyasa, Jnana Nishtha Phalam. Evam Dviprakaраha Pravrutti Nivrutti Lakshano Vedartho Atra Prakashitaha. So, Evam means in this manner, two types of Vedartha, that is the two-fold meaning of Veda is proposed here. What is this twofold meaning of Veda? That is, Pravrutti Lakshana is one, Nivrutti Lakshana is another. The path of action and the path of renunciation. The path of action is called Pravrutti Lakshana. Pravrutti is you are pro world. Nivrutti means you are withdrawn from the world. That is, one is pro world, one is not anti world, but withdrawn from the world. So, dviprakaraha, two types. Pravrutti Nivrutti Lakshana Vedartha Atra Prakashitaha. Prakashitaha means it has been illustrated, it has been explained. Then Tatra Pravrutti Lakshanasya Pravrutti Lakshanasya Vedarthasya Vidhi Pratishedha Lakshanasya Krusnasya Prakashane Pravargyantam Pravargyantam Brahmanam Upayuktam. So he is referring to a particular portion in this earlier portion of the Veda. We know that this Upanishad is at the end of the Veda. So before this Upanishad comes, some pravargya, some type of ritual must have pravargya. I am not sure what it is. Pravargya it is some ritual only. Pravargyantam Brahmanam Upayuktam. So that particular Brahmana portion, Brahmanam is that portion of Veda we know. So the mantra, Vyakhyanam is called Brahmanam. Mantra is there, that Mola mantra, it is called Samhita. That Samhita is explained as to what is the meaning and how it has to be used. All that thing is there in Brahmanam. So this Brahmana Bhagam, which relates to Pravargya. So till that point, this Krusnasya Vedarthasya Prakashane. Krusnasya Vedarthasya ante Pravrutti Lakshanasya. That first portion, what is called Pravrutti Lakshana, the path of action has been explained up to this Pravargya portion in this Veda. That is the meaning here. This we have not seen, we have not read that portion. That has gone much earlier in the Veda. It must have gone earlier. So Tatra Pravrutti Lakshanasya Vedarthasya Vidhi Pratishedha Lakshanasya. And what is the nature or what is the character of this this path of action? This path of action is having two things. One is Vidhi. Vidhi means an order. You have to do this. That is a sort of injunction. And then Nishedha, it is a prohibition. So there is an injunction and there is again a prohibition. So the Vidhi and Nishedha, these two characterize this path of action. These two things, they characterize this Pravrutti Lakshana, Pravrutti Dharma. Krusnasya Pravrutti Lakshanasya Krusnasya Prakashane, the whole of this Pravrutti Lakshana Dharma has been mentioned till this Pravargya portion of Brahmana. Then Nivrutti Lakshanasya Vedarthasya Prakashane Atavurdhvam Bruhadaranyakam Upayuktam. So Nivrutti Lakshanasya Vedarthasya Prakashane. In order to explain this Nivrutti Lakshana Dharma, in order to Prakashanam means illustrate, you can say throw light on. Prakashanam actually means throw light on. In order to elucidate, let us say, in order to elucidate this path of renunciation, this path of withdrawal, this Jnana Nishtha, Vedarthasya Prakashane, Atavurdhvam means henceforth, Atavurdhvam, hereafter, let us say, hereafter, Bruhadaranyakam Upayuktam. This Bruhadaranyaka Upanishad, we are of course in Ishavasya Upanishad, but this is talking, Bhashyam is talking about Bruhadaranyaka Upanishad means, obviously Bruhadaranyaka Upanishad, we know that Bruhadaranyaka and what is this Ishavasya, they form part of the same Shakha. What is that Shakha? Shukla Yajush Shakha. Krishna Yajush Shakha is different. Krishna Yajush Shakha in Andhra, this Andhra region, the Krishna Yajush Shakha is most prevalent. We all study this, what is this Taittiriya Upanishad, Kathopanishad. These are in this say Krishna Yajush Shakha. Shukla Yajush Shakha, Taittiriya, Bruhadaranyaka. Obviously these Shakha means a branch. Shakha means just a branch. So all these branches, so many branches were there in say a few thousand years ago, maybe about 4,000 or 5,000 years ago. But then they were all in different places. Though the same Upanishad Rishis, different Rishis were there, probably we do not know what type of meetings they used to have in order to have a common discussion. But then all these things under the umbrella of the same Vedic type of thinking, different types of upasanas are shown in different Upanishads. in different branches of Veda, let us say. So that is why Chandogya Upanishad, you find one type of Upanishads, then Brihadaranyaka, you find another type of Upanishads. But the concept of Upasana is same. The concept and philosophy behind Upasana is same in all these things. So that is what we have to see. And then so many branches have disappeared. We do not know why. Maybe historical reasons, because India has been under, attack for the last 2000 years or more. It has been under attack by various people. And then, so like that, various shakhas, various branches have disappeared. Only a handful of branches are now available. So that is why there is a reference to Brihadaranyaka here. Atavurdhvam Brihadaranyakam Upayuktam. So henceforth, this Brihadaranyaka Upanishad will tell what is this Nivrutti Lashano Dharma. This Nivrutti Lashano Dharma, it is being explained or it is being elucidated in this Brihadaranyaka. In fact, these mantras which are there in Ishavasya Upanishad, some of them they get repeated in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad also. So that is why we have to read these two things together, because only then, maybe as I was saying, a particular group of rishis must have stayed in a particular area, and then this is their way of appreciation of the reality. In fact, Upanishads, the basic idea, the basic aim of this Upanishadic Rishi was to know the nature of the self. His target or his ambition was not to propound, not to proclaim a religion. His target was to go beyond religion. Religion, okay, it is required. It is required at a lower level for some social order. But then what is the ultimate truth? For this ultimate truth, you have to see, you have to think for yourself. So that is why the target or the aim of Upanishadic Rishi is not to propound a religion, not to establish a religion. It is to go beyond religion and seek what is the ultimate reality. So that is what we have to see, that is what we see here. Okay, Atavurdhvam Brihadaranyakam Upayuktam. Next line. Tatra Nishekadi Shmashanantam Karma Karma Kurvan Jijivished Yaha Vidyaya Saha Aparabrahma Vishayaya Taduktam Vidyam Cha Yastadvedo Bhayagam Saha Avidyaya Mrutyum Tirtva Vidyaya Mrutamashnute Iti. This is the 11th mantra. Shankaracharya, he is just recapitulating. Now and then Shankaracharya, like we do in a classroom, he also recapitulates. So he says, Nishekadi Shmashanantam Karma Kurvan Yo Jijivishet. That is, one who desires to live by following all these Shodasha karmas. There are so many karmas which are told, so many rituals. For example, some text says about 16 rituals, Shodasha karma. Then Nisheka means the time when this Garbhadhanam is Nisheka. Garbhadhanam is that a person gets into the womb, let us say. When the sperm and ovum meet and then when they become a womb. So that is the time of Nisheka. That is called Nishekam. Nisheka is the time of formation of the womb. That is a person getting into the womb. So that is Nisheka. Then Smashana. Smashana is after the fall of the body, it is taken and then it is burnt to ashes. So that is Smashanantam. So Nishekadi Smashanantam, there are certain rituals. The moment a person is there, enters the womb, there is a ritual. Then again at the time of Smashana, there is a ritual. So in between there are so many, there are 16. Some people say some 32, some people say some more. So depend on one's own patience and one's own resources. He can do all that. So anyway, Nishekadi Smashanantam Karma Kurvan Jijivished Yaha. One who desires to live by going through all these rituals. So this portion of the, this particular mantra has told about them. What is that? Vidyaya Saha, that is Parabrahma Vishaya, Aparabrahma Vishaya. So Vidya, the meaning given in this context was Upasana. Vidya means Upasana. Aparabrahma Vishaya, that is Aparabrahma is a lower Brahma, Karya Brahma. We know what is Parabrahma and what is Aparabrahma. Parabrahma is the supreme Brahman, which has nothing to do with all these things. Aparabrahma is that which is visualized in that Parabrahma. That which is supposed to be responsible for the Srishti, Sthiti, Laya, all these things. So that is it. Vidyam cha vidyam cha estadvedo bhayagam saha. I need not again explain all these things. It is referring to that samuchaya of say karma and upasana. Then next line. Tatra kena margena amrutatvam ashnute ityuchyate. Tadyat satyam asausa adityo ya yesha etasmin mandale purusho yasyayam dakshineyakshan purusha etadubhayagam satyam. So this is a quotation from Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, because just now we were seeing that Brihadaranyaka and these two have to be read together. 5 minutes? Okay. Brihadaranyaka and this thing have to be read together. So that is why Shankaracharya is quoting that. Tatra, so he is just explaining the sort of context for the forthcoming mantra, that is 15th mantra. What is it that the Rishi is asking? This Rishi is asking, Kena margena amrutatvam ashnute. That is, in what manner can we get amrutatvam? So that then, Kena margena means in what marga, in what path? Amrutatvam ashnute, one gets immortality. That immortality we have seen at different levels. Relative immortality we have seen. Amrutatvam ashnute iti uchyate. Tadyat tat satyam asau sa adityaha yayesha etasmin mandale purusho yasyayam dakshinekshan purusha etadubhayagam satyam. This is from this Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. This line is from okay, this is this Brahmanam, 5th adhyaya, 5th Brahmanam, 5th adhyaya, 5th Brahmanam. This is called Satya Brahma Brahmanam or something. This is Satya Brahma Brahman, the name I forget. There, these two types of upasana are told. One is that Adityopasana. Adityopasana, Aditya, that is the light. Aditya is Surya. Surya is the light at the Adhibhuta level, at the say level of the elements, the 5 elements. At the level of Prakriti, the Surya represents this light. And in the human body, that is called Adhyatma. At the Adhyatma level, the Akshi, the eye, not necessarily the right eye or left eye, but then just to mention, they said eye. Dakshinakshin, Purushe, Purusha, Dakshineyakshin. Just for mentioning, they say mentioned Dakshinakshin, that is the right eye. So this right eye or eye in general, that represents the sense of sight. The sense of sight in the human body at the Adhyatma level is the same as light at the Adhibhautika level. So this is what we have to see. So both are related. So these two represent this Brahman. So that is the type of upasana. It is a type of upasana which the sadhaka does in that particular Brahmana. So tad yat satyam asausa adityaha. Satyam in that particular say mantra, how that Shankaracharya say the meaning of Satyam which he gives is Sat plus Tyat becomes Satyam. Satyam, the word Satyam if you take, Sat plus Tyat. Satchatyacha bhavat, that's what it says. Satchatyacha bhavat. Sat and Tyach are both nothing but the ultimate Brahman. What is the meaning of Sat and what is the meaning of Tyat? So Sat means whatever is manifest, what we are able to see. What the manifest means the same what we called Hiranyagarbha Brahma. What we call Hiranyagarbha or manifest is called Sat. Then Tyat. Tyat means Amurtam, that is unseen, unmanifest. Amurtam, that which is formless. Formless, that is unmanifest or Avyakurta. So these two things combinedly, they are called Satyam. Satyam is a combination of both form, something with form and something which is formless. Something which is Vyakruta and something which is Avyakruta. Something which is Karyam and something which is Karanam. Both constitute Satyam. So that is the meaning which Shankaracharya gives there. Sat is Murtam, Satchatyacha bhavatu, Murtam cha. That is what he says. Not the mantra also says. Murtam is that which has form, Amurtam is that which has no form. So these are that is how is that particular line I have not written here. So both are conjointly called Satyam. So in this Akshi Purusha Upasana, so Akshi Purusha Upasana I was mentioning, that is visualizing that Brahman in the Akshi, in a human sight, and in the outside elements, in the sun, and both these represent the same ultimate Brahman. So that is the type of Upasana which is mentioned here. Let us see the words. Tadyat Satyam Asausa Aditya. Tadyat Satyam. Whatever is called Satyam, he is that Aditya. He is that Surya. Whatever we say as Satyam, he is that Aditya. Then Ya Esha Yetasmin Mandale Purushaha. Then who is in that solar orb? Yetasmin Mandala. Surya Mandalam we call it. Solar, that in English we call it solar orb. That Purusha who is in that solar orb, he is the same as Yascha Ayam Dakshine Akshin Purushaha. And this Purusha who is in this Dakshina Akshi, that is the power which is behind this sense of sight, or this Chaitanyam which is behind this say sense of sight. These both are one and the same. This Chaitanyam which is behind this eyesight and the Chaitanyam which is behind this solar orb, both are one and the same. That is what it is said. Yaschayam Dakshine Akshin Purushaha Etad Ubhayagam Satyam. Etad Ubhayagam. Both these are one and the same. Both these are called Satyam. Both these are called this Murta and Amurta. Whatever is there, it is, say, whatever you see in the solar orb is the same which you see in this human eye. And then both are nothing but, say, illumined by the same ultimate Chaitanyam. So that is the meaning here. So I think time is over. So we will see this in slightly more detail. Maybe I will write down that commentary also and come. Okay. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Avashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi.